Hey, this is Defeating the Sun, and planes that crashed into Twin Towers traveled in time, and this whole thing is connected somehow to Trump. So let's investigate what really happened. First of all, we need to go for the references that the elite put up in media for us as hints. They do it all the time. It's called lesser magic. So the first hint we're going to look at is this new ad for the Porsche 911. It's called Time Travel. Let's watch it.
Time travel might always remain a dream. But we're working on it. The new Porsche 911. Timeless machine.
So as you can see, this was a reference to time travel on 9/11, but we need more evidence to make our argument stronger. So first of all, let's look at the footage of the second plane on 9/11 crashing into the building. It kind of looks like that the plane just disappears. As you can see here, it looks like it just disappears. Now, we have other references to this time traveling, which needs crashing into something. They try to tell us about it in this movie called Back to the Future. So another thing, before we proceed, another thing that we need to consider is these repetitive numbers like 88 and 9/11 that we see all over these so-called hints that they put up in media. We will go back to this 88 number after watching this clip. So keep it on your mind. So this car needs to go 88 miles per hour to be able to travel in time.
Hey Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88. Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Where we're going, we don't need roads. What does it mean? It means that this car turns into a plane. They actually tell you that this is somehow an airplane, even though it doesn't look like an airplane.
No, it won't run under its own power. We know we can't pull it. But if we can figure out a way to push it up to 88 miles an hour.
No. Let's watch another clip from this movie.
Looks like an airplane. Well, what?
They literally tell you that it looks like an airplane. How does this car resemble an airplane. It doesn't. They just want to tell you that this is a reference to the upcoming plane crashing into the Twin Towers, which is also apparently a time travel attempt. So as you can see, every time they want to travel in time, they need to crash into something with this car that resembles an airplane to them. Now, there's a whole video about how this whole movie is just about 9/11, the entire movie. You can watch it on YouTube. It's called Back to the Future, how Back to the Future predicted 9/11. Now, that's a long video that explains how this whole movie is about 9/11. But one thing that I have not seen that to ever be mentioned is how the planes on 9/11 were actually trying to travel in time, and how this whole thing, this car, as you heard the guy tells you that it looks like an airplane. We will go back to that number 88 that they repeat over and over again throughout this movie.
What did I tell you? 88 miles per hour!
88 miles per hour. Now, before we go to see what that 88 miles per hour actually means, we need to listen to Trump and see what he said about the plane crashes during the 9/11.
The steel, the reason the World Trade Center had such narrow windows is that in between all the windows you had the steel on the outside. So you had the steel on the outside of the building. That's why when I first looked, and you had big, heavy I-beams, when I first looked at it, I couldn't believe it because there was a hole in the steel. And this is steel that was, you remember the width of the windows in the World Trade Center, folks. I think you know, if you were ever up there, they were quite narrow. And in between was this heavy steel. I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747 or whatever it might have been, how could it possibly go through the steel?
So if, as Trump says, the plane could not actually enter the building due to those steel beams right there, we should have been able to see its wings crashing and jumping back outside, not going straight inside, because the plane wings are not strong enough to penetrate those steel beams. As you can see here, it just doesn't make any sense. It seems like it disappeared rather than penetrating into those steel beams. We should have been able to see those wings actually break through the outside and not going in like that, what we saw just here. So if you go on Wikipedia and look up the September 11 attacks, you can see that after the attacks, they put up a memorial right there on Ground Zero. One of the first memorials was the tribute in light and installation of 88 searchlights at the 4th planes of the World Trade Center towers. So you can see this 88 reference, they just show you everywhere. It's actually a reference to time travel, and Trump is somehow connected to all of this. So here is a list of Trump connections with the number 88. You can pause the video and read the whole thing because it takes a lot of time for me to read it for you. Another thing that Trump is connected to this whole thing and time travel is how Trump's uncle John Trump, which was a prominent scientist, took control of the lost papers of Nikola Tesla on time travel. You can read about this whole thing, look it up, the mystery of Nikola Tesla's missing files. And Trump's uncle, which was a scientist, took control of these lost papers and files which were related to time travel. Another thing that you can look up is these two books, The Last President and Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, which are both written by the same author. These two books apparently predict the future. They were written on about 120 years ago, and they just predict what Trump's presidency would look like and stuff like that. There are a lot of videos made about this subject. You can look them up on YouTube and watch them. So let me know what you think about this whole thing in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and that's it. I'll see you